The following video was recorded by a man who had been dealing with a slow and deeply unsettling buildup of strange events inside his home, and what makes his situation different from most is how methodically he documented everything, one clip at a time. It started with something he nearly missed entirely. One night, sitting alone in his dark living room with the TV on, he noticed that when the screen went dark and turned reflective, something wasn't right about what was looking back at him. Watch. In the reflection of the darkened TV screen, a tall, slender, dark silhouette is visible standing directly behind him, a shape he clearly hadn't noticed until that moment, judging by the sharp gasp and panicked camera movement that followed. Many viewers immediately recognized that figure as what's commonly called a shadow person, a term used across paranormal communities to describe dark, human-shaped silhouettes that appear to move or stand with intent, distinct from ordinary shadows because of how they hold their form. Some researchers have linked the phenomenon to cultural traditions far older than the internet, including the Choctaw concept of the Nalusa Falaya and similar entities across Islamic folklore involving the jinn. Others argue it's a product of fear and low light playing tricks on an already anxious mind. But whatever explanation you lean toward, his reaction in that moment was real. That changed everything, because it turns out the shadow wasn't the only thing he'd been finding in his house. When contractors came to investigate a decomposition smell coming from his basement, what they found sealed inside the foundation wall was disturbing in its own right. Watch.
To show you, honestly. It's a train wreck down here. Since when they decided that wasn't it, they opened up the wall here and didn't find any dead animals, but they did find that, and that's not even the weirdest part. Dude. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just tripping out or...
Buried in the excavated rubble, he pulls out a rusted horseshoe and then, and this is where his voice noticeably tightens, a collection of large yellowed teeth, possibly human, sitting in the dirt like they'd been placed there deliberately. For some viewers, the horseshoe reads as little more than an old artifact, but teeth hidden inside a home's foundations carry a darker implication. In certain folk magic traditions, objects sealed within the bones of a building, particularly teeth, which carry personal biological material, were believed to bind a spirit or curse to the home's occupants. Whether that's the framework you use or not, the man's voice makes it clear he didn't go looking for this. He was trying to fix a smell. Now the security camera footage he set up around the house was beginning to catch things too. Take a look. In the silent, black and white infrared footage of an empty living room, a book suddenly falls from the top shelf of a large bookshelf with no visible person or force near it. And when he comes back inside about 15 minutes later and picks it up off the floor, the clip ends on a still image of the cover. It's a holy Bible. The fact that it's a Bible, rather than any other book, deepened the reaction online considerably. Some viewers pointed to the idea of a demonic presence, specifically targeting or displacing religious objects, a pattern reported in a number of haunting accounts where entities appear to respond to symbols of faith with particular aggression. His dog had also refused to approach the basement door that same night, which he'd noted in previous clips. It didn't stop. By the time he sat down to record himself playing guitar a few nights later, the activity had spread through the entire house. Watch. While he plays, a pale, blurry shape, face-like, faint, is visible in the background behind him, circled in red. The kitchen cabinets were found hanging open, and then, in bedroom footage where he'd been woken by the sound of footsteps, a quiet, raspy, whispered voice is recorded saying, "Your fire's dying," a disembodied whisper that's specific, directed at someone alone in a dark room. That alone is terrifying. Some people familiar with EVP research point out that voices recorded during audio malfunction are sometimes among the clearest captures, as though whatever is present finds a window when the signal breaks. He'd also mentioned the smell from the basement had spread through the entire house by this point, and that birds had been flying into his windows and dying, details that, if true, suggest the environment itself was changing around him. His friends watched this set of clips more than once, and the thread running through all of it is harder to dismiss each time. Which brings us to the most recent footage, captured when he wasn't even home. Watch. Across these 5 clips, whether you read it as shadow entity, residual curse, tied to whatever was buried in that foundation, or something that's been present in that house far longer than he has, the pattern is the same. It's escalating. It's moving through every room, and so far, nothing he's tried has slowed it down. What do you do when the thing in your house already knows your name? This next clip was recorded inside an apartment by a static Wise security camera, sometime just before dawn. The timestamp reads 5:41 in the morning. The owner had already been noticing strange activity throughout the apartment for a while, but whatever was happening that night decided to make itself impossible to ignore. The room is quiet, lit only by the camera's night vision. A black cat is resting near the ottoman in the center of the living room, and nothing about the scene looks out of the ordinary. Then it got worse. Listen closely. In a matter of seconds, 3 things happen, each one more unsettling than the last. The cat is suddenly propelled backward at a speed that has no natural explanation, sliding violently from the living room into the dining room as a sharp scraping sound cuts through the silence. Then, one dining chair is dragged out from under the table on its own. Then a second one follows. The cat's distress is immediate. You can hear it screech and then let out a long, wailing yowl when the second chair moves. Many believe this kind of escalating multi-object activity points to something with a level of physical force that sets it apart from typical haunting reports. Not a flicker of lights or a cold draft, but something aggressive enough to throw a living animal across a room. Skeptics will reach for hidden strings or wires, but the fluid, high-speed movement of the cat is particularly hard to stage. If you watch all 3 events in sequence, they feel purposeful, like something working its way through the space. So what was in that apartment? This next clip comes from a man living in what he describes as a 1920s house, a place packed with taxidermy, Venetian masks, vintage decor, and the kind of heavy atmosphere that makes you wonder if any of it was chosen intentionally. He says strange things have been happening for a while. Noises, objects moving, the usual pattern of low-level activity that's easy to dismiss one incident at a time. But on this particular evening, around dusk, he decided to walk through the house with his phone and document whatever he could. Watch.
There's been sporadic knocking on my front door for a long time now, since about 7 o'clock. I've not managed to catch it yet. Are you knocking on my front door? You can see through the glass as well, so it's a good angle to have. If you're there, knock. Whoa. Whoa. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What is that noise? What do you want? Turn the light on. Hello? Hello? I can hear you. Why do you just do this every now and then? What is it you want? Whoa. Oh my God. Shit. Leave my stuff alone. Seem bothered. You alright? You're used to it, aren't you, I suppose? Honestly, stuff like this, even though you do get used to it to a degree, I am shaking like a bloody leaf. And I've gone quite lightheaded as well. Hopefully I managed to catch the knocks on the door anyway to show you. But I've caught the bloody fire guard flying off the fire. What?
If you listen carefully, many people believe they can hear what sounds like a woman's voice, shouting immediately after the knock. The words are impossible to make out, but the sound is distinct enough that it sparked intense debate online. Some viewers suggested the voice could simply be audio pareidolia, the tendency for the brain to find recognizable words or voices within unclear sounds or background noise. Others wondered whether it was a television, a neighbor, or a distant conversation carried into the recording. Paranormal investigators, however, were quick to compare it to what they call disembodied voices, reports of human speech heard without any visible speaker present. These alleged voices are often described as brief, indistinct, and difficult to understand, sometimes occurring immediately before or after unexplained knocks or other disturbances. While there is no scientific evidence supporting these interpretations, unexplained voices remain one of the most frequently reported elements in alleged haunting cases. Whether the sound was simply an ordinary voice picked up at the perfect moment, or whether something inside that century-old house answered back. The timing of the knock and the voice occurring in one day is what many viewers found hardest to explain. Now in this next clip, a woman is filming outside her home late at night, just casually talking to her audience, commenting on how beautiful the night is, though she can't quite see the moon or stars from where she's standing. It's an ordinary moment, relaxed and conversational, with nothing suggesting anything unusual is nearby. Then the camera drifts toward the carport area. Watch.
Malam ini indah sekali, guys. Tapi kalau di sini nggak kelihatan ada bulan sama bintang.
A tall, white, shrouded figure darts out from behind a support post and moves rapidly across the frame before vanishing behind a dark object, and her scream is immediate and completely unfiltered. Some viewers familiar with Indonesian folklore immediately pointed to a pokong, a spirit from Javanese and Sundanese tradition said to appear as a corpse still bound in its burial shroud, the white cloth tied at the head and feet. Others think it's staged, but that scream doesn't wait for permission. The following video was recorded by a man who, for a while now, has been dealing with something he can't quite get a handle on inside his home. And the frustrating part isn't just what he claims to have seen, it's that the very cameras he set up to catch it keep failing him. He's got a small white cube-shaped security camera resting on top of a pink candle jar in his living room, and a second one elsewhere in the house, and according to him, neither will show him what they're supposed to be recording. When he tries to pull up the footage, he says all he gets is a black screen. So on this particular afternoon, with natural daylight pouring in through the window blinds, he decides to walk the room himself with a handheld camera and address a viewer's comment head-on. Someone who suggested the movement caught in a previous clip looked like it was pulled by a string. His black dog wanders alongside him the whole time, calm and unbothered. But then, around the 90-second mark, something makes him pause mid-sentence. Watch.
What are you doing, Doogie? What you doing? And you like, what you do? What you want? You're so spoiled. You're so spoiled. But yeah, the camera's not working. It just won't. Look. You're my good boy. You're my good boy. I'm a turd. Yeah, I don't know what else to do, y'all. This camera's messed up. And that one over there, I don't even have it uncovered no more. That one won't connect either. Well, it'll connect, but it won't. When it says there's a video or motion, when I go to view the video, it's just a black screen, so I don't know what to I don't know. I don't know if I just seen that or not. We'll find out here shortly, I guess. I just wanted to update y'all, let you know I'm working on these cameras. Here, let me hop off of here. I want to see this. I want to see if I'm tripping or not. Yeah, hold on.
He doesn't say what exactly caught his eye, only that he isn't sure if he just seen that or not. He walks straight toward the window, zooms in on the curtain rod and the top edge of the sheer fabric, and holds the shot there, the curtain completely still, nothing visibly attached, nothing moving. You decide whether that means the skeptics were right, or whether whatever he saw simply stopped before the camera got there. If something was there, it wasn't performing for anyone this time. In this next clip, a couple in their living room are just settling in for a quiet evening watching TV. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing to suggest anything strange is about to happen. The man is filming from the couch, his partner relaxed beside him, a cat wandering between them, a nature documentary playing in the background. Then he notices something. A ceiling lampshade in the middle of the room is swaying slowly on its own. Not a dramatic swing, just a persistent, gentle, circular motion that doesn't stop. He checks the windows himself. They're closed. Watch.
Alright, so we're just watching TV, and the lampshade's been moving on its own. We've no idea why. There's no window open, there's no reason why it should be moving, but it keeps moving. I have no idea why. So, if someone can explain that to me. Oh, Rory wants to play with his elastic band. But there's no one in the room, there's no reason why it should be moving, but it keeps moving. See? Just trying to enjoy a Starbucks whilst watching David Attenborough, and this is happening.
Maybe like David Attenborough.
Also, for anyone wondering, there's no one over there. There's no one over there. You know, it's still moving. So, someone please explain that to me.
It's the consistency of it that gets under your skin, not a single sway that could be dismissed as a draft, but a continuous, steady movement that keeps going throughout the entire clip. His partner even jokes that maybe it doesn't like David Attenborough. But here's the thing, no heating vent, no fan, no open door is visible anywhere in that room. Some viewers think subtle structural vibrations from a nearby road or appliance could explain it. Others aren't so sure, pointing out that the cat on the coffee table keeps watching the window, as if it's tracking something the camera can't quite reach. So what do you think is moving it? Now in this next clip, a man is home alone late at night when something starts happening at his bedroom door that he can't explain. He films himself first, eyes wide, voice shaking, speaking directly into his phone in Spanish, telling his followers that he lives alone, that there's nobody else in the apartment, and that something is trying to open his door. You can hear the panic in his voice before the camera even turns around. Watch.
Amigo, estoy solo en mi casa y hay alguien que me quiere abrir la puerta. Estoy solo, vivo solo, chabón. Y se está abriendo la manija, es returbio, mirá. ¿Quién está ahí? ¿Quién quiere abrir la puerta? ¿Quién está ahí?
The door handle moves up and down on its own, rhythmically, persistently, like someone on the other side is working it over and over. He shouts out asking who's there, gets no answer, then throws the door open and tears through the apartment, the hallway, the bathroom, a dark back room, and finds absolutely Nothing. No one. The handle moving is one thing, but what makes this harder to dismiss is that the motion is mechanical, deliberate, the kind that requires a physical hand operating a lever. Some viewers think the whole thing was staged with a wire or a string rigged to the handle. Others aren't so sure, pointing out that the frantic search through the apartment reads as completely genuine panic, not performance. So what exactly was working that handle? You decide. In this next clip, security camera footage from the night of October 5th, 2017, captures something unusual, moving through what appears to be a long, narrow, institutional hallway, the kind of corridor that already feels uneasy even when nothing is happening. The timestamp reads 11 past 11 p.m. The hallway is empty, lit by overhead fluorescent light, and by all appearances, nothing should be moving through it at all. Then it starts. Watch. Four times across the span of just over a minute, bright white orbs of light appear at the far end of the hall and travel rapidly toward the camera, dropping to the floor and vanishing before they reach it. The second light form moves in the opposite direction, shooting away down the corridor and disappearing. The fourth behaves differently still, darting erratically before shooting upward toward the ceiling. What's harder to explain is the timing of the third orb. It materializes almost immediately after a figure briefly crosses the far end of the hallway at around the 59-second mark, appearing in almost the exact same spot they just passed through. Some viewers immediately point to orbs as one of the most commonly reported forms of paranormal energy, believed by many in the ghost hunting community to represent spirits or conscious entities moving through a spy. Skeptics, on the other hand, argue that security camera footage is notorious for catching insects or airborne dust lit by IR sensors, which can produce fast-moving bright anomalies. But the behavior here, 4 separate appearances, different directions, different trajectories, and that timing near the figure makes the insect explanation harder to hold on to cleanly. So what do you think is moving through that hallway? In this next clip, a woman named Marissa has been dealing with something that's been getting progressively harder to explain away. Mysterious bruises, scratches, items disappearing from places she left them, and nights where she can't sleep at all, waking up at 3 a.m. or not sleeping at all. She's documented it before, and viewers from her previous videos have pointed out what they believe are letters visible in the scratches on her skin. But it's the physical injuries that really began to concern people, including a large, dark, raised welt on her stomach that was painful enough to send her to the hospital, where doctors couldn't identify what caused it or offer any explanation. The nurse noted her heartbeat was unusually fast, and she was running close to a fever. At this point, Marissa says she feels like whatever is in her bedroom is escalating, moving from unsettling to something that's actually affecting her body. She reaches a point where she decides to do something she'd been hesitant about. Use a Ouija board as a last resort, this time with a friend named Shanna. Watch closely.
Ready, Nudes? Okay, so how do we do it? We say hello to the spirit or what? Is there a spirit in this room? Oh my god. Are you male or female?
That looks like an F to me.
That does look like an F. Do you have a message for us? H E he L hell. Oh my god, please don't be hell. Maybe it's like the devil. Help. Is it gonna say something else? Like help what? Maybe we should ask it something else. What do we ask it? Is this room haunted? Yes. Oh my god. Oh my god, do you hear that? Yeah. Sushi's scratching at the door. Ask it something else. Is anything bad gonna happen to me? Are you moving it? No, I'm not moving it. Me neither. I'm not moving it. Well, I'm definitely not moving it. Oh my god. I did not do that. I didn't do that either. Oh my god, that's really scary. I want to stop playing. We should say goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, Ouija.
The session shifts from curious to genuinely unsettling almost immediately. When asked if there's a spirit in the room, the planchette slides to yes. When asked if the spirit is male or female, it moves to F. And when they ask for a message, it begins slowly spelling something out. H, E, L, and then the women start to panic, assuming it's spelling hell until the final letter lands on P. Help. That single word, spelled out letter by letter in a dark candlelit room, is the kind of thing that's hard to walk away from. Then the planchette gets knocked completely off the board, right after confirming that nothing bad is going to happen to Marissa, and both women immediately deny doing it. Their reactions, the gasping, the audible fear, the insistence that neither of them caused it, all feel spontaneous rather than staged. Skeptics would point to the ideomotor effect, a well-documented psychological phenomenon where people unconsciously move objects they're in contact with, including planchettes, without realizing they're doing it. Under that explanation, the word help could simply be the product of two frightened women's subconscious fears playing out through their fingertips. But that explanation doesn't quite account for the physical injuries Marissa described, the ones doctors at an actual hospital couldn't identify or explain. Some viewers familiar with demonology point out that the combination of physical marks appearing on someone's body, sleep disruption, and a spirit identifying itself as female through a board session follows a pattern they associate with attachment rather than a residual haunting, meaning whatever it is, according to that interpretation, isn't just lingering in the space, it's focused specifically on Marissa. Others think the scratches and bruises could still have mundane explanations, and that the Ouija session, whatever its cause, shouldn't be treated as confirmation of anything darker. If you've ever used a Ouija board, you probably already have an opinion on what you just watched. But the injuries, the ones with no diagnosis and no explanation, those are harder to file away. What caused them? And why does it keep getting worse? The board said nothing bad is going to happen to her, Whether that's reassuring or the most unsettling part of the whole session is something only Marissa can answer. Eat. In this next clip, a man is lying in bed filming his dark room on his phone, and what he catches sitting in the chair across from him has people seriously unsettled. The room is nearly pitch black, lit only by the faint glow of his screen, and from the moment the video starts, you can already hear how hard he's breathing. A figure is hunched over in a wooden-armed chair, dressed head to toe in black, with a balaclava completely covering its face, totally still. Not a single movement. He keeps the camera trained on it, hoping it stays that way. Watch.
I was on TikTok in my room when I heard something. I was hoping this fish didn't move.
The figure snaps upright and whips its head directly toward the camera in one sharp, unnatural movement, and his reaction is immediate panic. That jerk is what gets people. It's not slow, it's not gradual. It happens in an instant, the kind of speed that doesn't feel quite right for a person just waking up. Some think whoever, or whatever, was in that chair knew exactly when to move. Others aren't convinced it was a person at all. So what was sitting in his room? This next clip was filmed by a group exploring the Jesuitas Tacum, a wooded area in Santa Fe, Argentina, locally known as one of the old Jesuit forests, a place rumored to have once served as a cemetery, and one that carries a reputation for ritual activity that the cameraman, by his own admission, didn't entirely believe going in. He's filming on his phone at dusk, walking a dirt path deeper into the woods with a small group that includes another man in a white t-shirt, a woman in a black top, and 2 young children. Almost immediately, they find something on the ground near the base of a large tree, a dead black chicken, apparently sewn shut, the kind of thing left deliberately. The man in the white t-shirt picks it up at the cameraman's request, and what you see confirms this wasn't an animal that simply wandered off and died. The cameraman keeps pushing forward, narrating calmly, pointing out what he thinks might be old grave markers through the trees. Still skeptical, still filming. Watch.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenas noches. Aquí comenzamos un programa más. Bueno, acá en este canal de YouTube. Estamos en uno de los bosques de lo llamado jesuita, en uno de los bosques que, bueno, acá en la ciudad de Santa Fe, capital, en Argentina precisamente. Se comenta de que hubo un cementerio en un tiempo. La verdad es que yo no creo mucho porque tengo 30 años recién y la verdad que no tengo noción de lo que pasó acá. Salimos en un recorrido hace un momento con la familia y bueno, ya que estamos, quise hacer la toma del video para corroborar si la verdad lo que dicen de este supuesto cementerio es cierto. Dice que a esta hora más o menos de la noche, ya son aproximadamente 7:30 de la tarde, se aparecen cosas, se escuchan cosas. Se ven, por ejemplo, acá hacen todo lo que hay gualichos. Acá pueden ver, pueden corroborar que hay un animal, miren, un animal muerto también, de los gualichos que se hacen acá en esta zona. ¿Lo puedes levantar, por favor? Sí. ¿Ve? Este animal lo sacamos ahora estamos viéndolo recién. Si ustedes aprecian ahí en el pecho, tiene una cosida, seguramente que en la cosida esa que tiene ahí, estilo como algo quirúrgico. Acá dice que le ponen fotos, le ponen imágenes para hacer hechicería y esas cosas. Así que bueno, seguimos caminando, vamos a seguir viendo el bosque. Se dice que se escuchan gritos, se escuchan llantos. La verdad es que no creo mucho yo, pero bueno, allá pueden apreciar de aquel lado, están las tumbas. Se nota, se puede apreciar las tumbas de aquel lado. Pero bueno, vamos a ver de qué se trata. Se ven imágenes, se ven... Yo la verdad no creo nada, les vuelvo a repetir, yo no creo nada. Pero bueno, vamos a ver de qué se trata, vamos a ver qué onda. Así que bueno, vamos a ver de qué se trata. Ahí se puede ver uno de los... Allá atrás se puede apreciar, no sé si alcanza la toma de mi celular, porque mi celular es un celular muy bajo en resolución. Pero bueno, vamos a caminar a ver si podemos ver algo. Tenía también enterado de que, tenía también en conocimiento de que no solamente se ven esas cosas, sino que se ven como brujas volando. Yo no creo en realidad en brujas, pero se ven cosas volando, así que, bueno, no se ve nada. Así que lo que yo pensaba es cierto, no hay nada en estos lugares. Así que bueno, sigamos. Tamara. Sí. ¿Cómo era? ¿Jesuita? ¿Cuánto se llamaba esto?
Jesuita Tacum.
Jesuita Tacum. Ahí estamos con la familia caminando, recorriendo todo. Saludos, saludando.
Mirá.
No, esto de no creer, esto de no creer, vamos. Corran. La verdad que no me lo podía esperar, la verdad que no lo esperaba, pero acabamos de ver era como un duende, no sé qué, corriendo, así que vamos a ahí se ve, la verdad que se mueve, está en movimiento. La verdad que Jesús de Nazaret. No, vamos, corran. Agárrale.
There are two things that happen in this clip that are hard to talk past. The first is the brief blue-green orb that appears beside a tree trunk around the 2-minute mark and vanishes within a second. Small, bright, and nothing like light catching a leaf or a lens flare. The second is what sends the entire group running. A tall, pale, thin, humanoid shape, standing between two trees in the low light, blurry and distant, but distinctly not a tree trunk. The cameraman himself calls it a duende, a term used across Latin American folklore to describe a small goblin-like figure, though what's visible here looks anything but small. Others in the comments pointed towards something connected to the gualichos, a word used in Argentine folk tradition to describe dark ritual workings or curses, suggesting whatever was left in that forest may have drawn something in. The children are in the frame when they run. That detail alone doesn't leave you easily. The following videos were all recorded inside the same home, and what makes this collection so hard to dismiss is that it isn't a single isolated moment. It's a pattern, one that appears to be building, and one that seems to respond directly to the people living there. At some point, whoever is filming decided to start talking to whatever was present, addressing it by name, and according to these clips, it started answering back. The first time something happened on camera, she was sitting in the living room at night, a movie playing on the television in the background, a few drinks on the coffee table, nothing unusual about the setting at all. She speaks in a casual, almost playful tone, addressing something she calls Freddy, telling it she doesn't know its real name yet, but that she likes the one they've given it. Watch.
Come on, Freddy. I know we call you Freddy, but we don't know what to call you yet. But we like it.
Wowzers.
The moment she finishes speaking, the large glass dish on the coffee table violently flips upside down with a loud crash, knocking over one of the cans and sending its contents spilling across the table. What's striking here isn't just that the dish moved, it's the timing. She addresses Freddy, she finishes her sentence, and then it happens, as if whatever was in that room heard her and responded on cue. Skeptics will say the dish was unstable, sitting at an angle, but the force of the flip is difficult to reconcile with a gradual, physics-based shift. It didn't wobble, it went. Not long after, the activity seemed to pick up. A second person is now in the room, a woman in a leopard print robe, standing near a wooden side table on the far wall, and whoever is filming says plainly, "Don't touch it. You don't have to touch it," as if issuing a warning to something unseen. Watch.
Don't touch it. You don't have to touch it.
Objects don't move like that on their own. so whether it's a true poltergeist or something else, the escalation is hard to ignore. Then she tried something different. Rather than filming reactively, she started making requests, pointing the camera toward the side table with the potted plant and the framed wolf photo. Listen closely.
Come on. Put the light on, put the light on.
Within paranormal circles, it's often claimed that entities interact with telephones, radios, and other electronic devices because they're believed to be easier to influence than heavier objects, using small amounts of electrical energy to produce physical movement. As soon as the footage was posted, many viewers suggested the same explanation: fishing line. It seemed like the most reasonable possibility, until she uploaded another recording. Watch.
Look, the light is on. You can clearly see there is no fishing wire or strings. It's just hovering. Look at that.
This time, the room is brightly lit. She deliberately points out that the lights are on, that there are no strings, no wires, and nothing supporting the object as it appears to hover in plain sight. Some paranormal researchers refer to this as levitation phenomena, one of the rarest and most controversial claims in haunting reports, where an object appears to suspend itself without visible support. Cases like these remain highly disputed because they're also among the easiest to fake. Then the activity spread beyond the furniture. Watch.
Look, 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 look,
Oh my
look at that! Ah, look at that!
Until now, she'd been experiencing everything alone, and that left plenty of room for doubt. Even she admitted there were moments when she questioned whether stress, exhaustion, or expectation could be influencing what she thought she was seeing. So instead of keeping the experiences to herself, she invited a close friend over, not to investigate the house, not to perform an experiment, but simply to witness whatever had been happening. She wanted someone with no emotional investment, someone who could tell her she wasn't imagining it. Interestingly, many paranormal investigators claim that alleged hauntings often become more active when fresh witnesses enter the environment. One theory suggests that an intelligent entity may intentionally reveal itself to new people, almost as if trying to validate its existence. Another proposes that the emotional energy of multiple people in the same space provides more energy for physical manifestations, allowing activity to become stronger or more dramatic than when a single person is alone. Whether there's any truth to those ideas remains impossible to prove. But according to the woman, it wasn't long after her friend arrived that the house appeared to respond.
You'll be alright. I'm not lying, the fucking picture is levitating. The fucking hell? You can't see it.
A picture seems to levitate in front of two witnesses, and according to the people living there, all of it centers around the same unseen presence. They call it Freddy. In many paranormal traditions, investigators caution against naming or regularly communicating with an unexplained presence. The belief is that repeated interaction, especially treating it like a personality, may reinforce the experience psychologically or, according to paranormal belief, encourage further activity by giving the phenomenon attention. Whether that's folklore or simply a psychological effect is impossible to verify, but it's a warning that appears across countless haunting accounts. So if something really was responding, the question isn't just why it moved, it's whether it was moving because someone finally started talking to it. In this next clip, a man filming alone in his apartment at night, who starts the video almost like he can't quite believe what's been happening. He mentions the wooden cabinet behind his red and black gaming chair has been rattling all evening, the kind of persistent, aggressive rattling that sounds less like a loose hinge and more like something deliberately pulling on it from the inside. The moment he hits record, it stops, which only makes him more unsettled, not less. He keeps the camera pointed at the hutch and the chair, holding his ground, saying he can hear footsteps even though he's alone in the apartment and his neighbors have already moved out. The rattling starts up again, louder this time, more forceful, like something picking up where it left off. Watch.
Her footsteps again. See, this sounds like someone was pulling on it. Hello? Yo. Yo.
What happens next is hard to look away from. The gaming chair, completely unprompted, rotates smoothly to the left in one long, continuous motion while he's watching it in real time. And before he even knows what to say, something else happens.
You do it again? Yo, I'm good on that, man. That thing just tried to pull open again. Alright, you gotta go now. Like, yo, you gotta...
Many paranormal investigators would describe a sequence like this as classic poltergeist behavior. Unlike traditional ghost stories that center on apparitions, alleged poltergeist cases are typically defined by physical disturbances, knocking, furniture moving, objects sliding across floors, and activity that appears to intensify over time. Some theories even suggest these disturbances feed on fear or emotional energy, becoming more active the longer witnesses remain engaged. Others point to an interesting detail. He notices that almost every time the camera briefly loses focus, something else happens. Some paranormal enthusiasts believe unexplained electromagnetic disturbances can interfere with camera autofocus systems before visual or physical phenomena occur. Although there is no scientific evidence confirming such a connection, skeptics, however, offer more conventional explanations. A swivel chair on a smooth floor can rotate under the right conditions, subtle vibrations can cause lightweight objects to shift, and old furniture is notorious for creaking and rattling. Those are all reasonable possibilities. But what many viewers struggle to explain is the timing. The noises stop when he begins recording. They resume when he waits. The chair turns, the organizer slides, the hutch rattles again, and the man filming gradually goes from curious to frightened to simply wanting whatever is in that apartment to leave him alone. Eventually, he makes a decision. Instead of staying to find out what happens next, he walks out of the apartment altogether, and judging by the fear in his voice, he believed something inside was hoping he wouldn't. Now, in this next video, a man is sitting in his backyard in North Lamar on what appears to be an ordinary, overcast afternoon. There's nothing dramatic about the setting. No storm, no heavy wind, just a quiet day that shouldn't be memorable for any reason. Yet something overhead catches his attention. He's filming with his phone, staring up at the sky with an expression that shifts from confusion to genuine disbelief. Watch.
For the love of God, I need help. I got home 2 hours ago, and there's a limb just floating in the air. And I've been all over Google. I can't figure out for the life of me what the hell is going on. It's just, hold on. It's just floating there. As far as I zoom in on here. But I can't figure it out. It's just floating. Google's like talking about spider webs and all kinds of stupid crap, but it rained here like shortly after I got home, and it's still there. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I just can't figure it out. Right under it. Like, what the? I need help. I done talked to one of my neighbors. He is dumbfounded. I've done thrown stuff at it, and I can't hit it. It just seems like it goes right through it. But what the crap? Look at it. Like, I ain't making nothing up. It's like 20 feet in the air. Maybe 30. I don't know. I ain't good at distance. But it doesn't make sense. Somebody help me. And please, for the love of God, don't let it be them stupid people that we're living in a matrix. No, we don't.
Suspended above the rooftops is what appears to be a small tree branch, green leaves still attached, drifting slowly through the air. Not tumbling, not spinning, simply gliding. He follows it with his camera for more than 2 minutes, repeatedly looking around as if expecting to find a kite, a drone, or someone playing a prank. At one point, almost under his breath, he says, "It's literally just a floating branch." The quiet way he says it somehow makes the moment even stranger. Online, viewers quickly divided into 2 camps. Skeptics suggested it could have been suspended beneath a drone using nearly invisible line or lightweight rigging. Others proposed fishing lines stretched between structures, though nothing resembling either is visible in the footage. Paranormal enthusiasts saw something else entirely. Some compared it to reports of apports, a term used in paranormal literature to describe objects that allegedly appear or are displaced without an obvious physical cause. Others linked it to stories of psychokinesis, the controversial idea that an unseen force could influence physical objects, or even elemental spirits from folklore, where branches, leaves, and stones are said to move in unnatural ways as signs of an unseen presence. Of course, none of those explanations have been scientifically verified, but that's exactly why clips like this continue to spark debate. Whatever was keeping that branch suspended, it wasn't falling. It wasn't caught in any obvious current, and for more than 2 minutes, it seemed perfectly content to remain exactly where it shouldn't have been. The following video was recorded inside a brightly lit retail store, the kind of ordinary place where the most exciting thing usually captured on security footage is someone dropping a shopping basket or knocking an item off a shelf. The store appears completely normal, with fluorescent lights illuminating every aisle, merchandise neatly arranged, and a security camera mounted high on the wall, quietly recording the sales floor. At the moment this footage was captured, there wasn't a single customer visible, no employees walking through the frame, and no obvious source for what was about to appear. Watch. A dark, semi-transparent mass, vaguely upright, vaguely human in shape, materializes, and then simply dissolves into nothing by the time it reaches the edge of the frame. You can even hear the moment it registers with the people watching the monitor. A man's voice cutting through the ambient noise in what sounds like Bulgarian, roughly translating to, "Whoa, what is that, man?" Pure shock, completely unrehearsed. Some believe shadow figures like this one are drawn to places with heavy foot traffic, absorbing residual energy from the people who pass through daily. Others think the bright fluorescent lighting actually makes this harder to dismiss as a trick of the light. So what exactly was gliding through that store? In this next clip, Two men are on a video call late at night. The man on the left in a room lit with red and blue ambient lighting. The man on the right sitting in a normally lit space, both of them deep in casual conversation about heritage and family. Neither one seems to notice anything off, but in the background behind the man on the left, sitting on a shelf illuminated by a red LED strip, there's a doll, a small figure in a dark hooded sweatshirt, propped upright, completely still. Watch.
Y'all have Irish and Indian?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't know. She's saying braids or what?
Oh, she probably meant to put braids or dreads. Tasha's Native American? Well, I'm Hispanic. I'm from here. Is he paused?
Yeah.
While both men are mid-conversation, the doll moves and the whole thing lasts barely a second. Neither man reacts, because neither man sees it. What makes this harder to explain is the angle. You'd need something hidden directly beneath that shelf to produce that kind of isolated movement, and nothing visible in the frame suggests that's possible. Some viewers immediately pointed to the idea of a haunted or attached object, a concept that appears across dozens of cultural traditions, where a spirit is said to anchor itself to a physical item rather than a place. Others think it's a trick of the recording. You decide. The following video was recorded by a woman who had been going through her daughter's toy camera, a small, purple thing, the kind given to young kids as a first camera, almost forgotten in a drawer, when she came across a photograph that made her stop completely. Her daughter, who was 9 at the time, had a friend over, and the two girls had been taking silly photos with it, selfies, pictures of the dog, the usual. She decided to scroll through to get a laugh. That changed everything. Watch.
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
The photograph on that tiny screen shows a tall, dark, entirely humanoid figure standing next to a reddish-brown cabinet in her kitchen. It's almost a complete silhouette. No clear features, no defined limbs, just a solid black shape that reaches well above the cabinet. In the days that followed, she sat down and recorded a longer explanation, because the more she thought about it, the less sense it made. Watch closely.
Okay, so a little explanation on that video that I just uploaded of the photo. So my daughter had a friend over yesterday, and they found a little camera, little, like it's like this big, that was given to her for Christmas a couple years ago. Not by us, by like a family member, and she got it when she was like 5, so it's been in their house for a long time. She doesn't really use it. She plays around with it sometimes. Anyway, so they found it and they were just taking photos, and so I decided to look at the photos today to laugh, to see like what silly photos 9-year-olds take of themselves, you know. And I'm scrolling through, and there's like cute selfies, like them playing outside, and picture of the dog, and then there's that photo. And I go back and forth between that photo and the other photos. There's no like other photos of the kitchen or anything like that. It's literally just, there's only that one photo from our kitchen. Yeah. So I'm gonna upload that photo tonight onto my computer to take a look at what that photo could possibly be, because it really makes no sense. My daughter's at school right now, so I haven't asked her what it could be. Who knows, it could be them playing around, but it looks tall for them. It's short for me. If you compare it in the doorway, it looks like it could be about 5 foot something, but it's, who knows, I'm terrible. I don't really know. I'm just pulling a number out of my ass. So yeah, fun times. Oh, and I wanted to say the date at the bottom. The date in the camera is incorrect, so I don't know why it says like 2019, but it was taken, those photos were taken yesterday, unless it's 2019, but they were taken yesterday.
The picture.
Yesterday, so I'm scrolling, you know, da-da-da, and I'm like, what is that? What the is that? Like, what is that? That's right, so that's right here. Excuse how, like, messy that is, but what is that?
She walks through everything. The girls were 9, so it couldn't have been them. And the figure looks too short to be a normal adult in that specific doorway, somewhere around 5 feet tall by her estimate. There are no other photos of the kitchen taken that day, just that one. And then she does something that really lands hard. She holds the toy camera up in the actual spot where the photo was taken, comparing the image on the screen to the real empty room in front of her, and the red cabinet is right there, exactly where it is in the photo. But whatever was standing beside it is gone. Some viewers think it could be a shadow person, a term used in paranormal communities to describe dark, featureless humanoid shapes that appear without explanation and seem to observe without interacting. Others are more skeptical, pointing to pareidolia or the low resolution of a child's camera creating shapes where none exist. But the detail that's hardest to explain away is that there are no other kitchen photos, no accidental shots, no blurry test frames, just one image, and something standing in it that shouldn't be there. So what was standing in that kitchen while 2 9-year-old girls played nearby? And why is there only one photo to show for it? Now in this next clip, a Ring security camera mounted outside a home captures something that the person who shared it is convinced is paranormal, although whether viewers agree seems to depend entirely on what they think they see moving through the darkness. The footage is recorded in night vision, giving everything that familiar black and white appearance. A white minivan sits parked in the driveway, trash bins are lined up near the edge of the property, and a cinder block wall runs along one side of the frame, separating the home from the area beyond. At first glance, nothing appears unusual. The scene is quiet, still, and completely empty. Then the person who posted the video directs viewers' attention toward the far side of the wall. Watch.
Watch closely. You'll see a figure on the other side of the wall, and it disappears as it walks away.
A figure can be seen walking beyond the wall, moving steadily through the darkness before seemingly disappearing from sight. According to the homeowner, this is where things become difficult to explain, because they claim the property sits very close to a cemetery, a detail that immediately fueled paranormal speculation in the comments. Many viewers believe the figure is simply a person walking along a path or roadway hidden from the camera's view, briefly visible before moving beyond the field of vision. But the connection to the nearby cemetery is what pushed the discussion in a more supernatural direction. For centuries, graveyards have occupied a unique place in folklore, often associated with reports of wandering apparitions, spirits following familiar routes, or what some traditions describe as residual hauntings, moments or movements that appear to replay themselves long after the people involved are gone. In many cultures, it was believed that spirits did not always remain within burial grounds, but occasionally wandered surrounding roads, paths, and neighboring properties, particularly during the night. Of course, being near a cemetery doesn't automatically make every shadow paranormal, but it does add an extra layer of mystery when a figure appears where no one expects it and then seems to vanish before anyone can determine exactly what they're looking at. Now, in this next clip, a man is alone in a dark room, the only light coming from the screen of his own phone, when something begins making itself known from inside the furniture directly in front of him. He doesn't know what's causing it. Watch.
Están golpeando el mueble.
The knocking is loud, rhythmic, and deliberate, striking the wooden console in a steady pattern. But the most terrifying thing is the eye he saw. There's no way someone could fit into the back of the furniture, so help him make sense of this. In folklore, across different cultures, wooden furniture in particular has been associated with the idea of memory holding, the belief that natural materials like wood can absorb emotional or spiritual residue over time, especially if the object has been present during repeated human experiences, conflict, or trauma. Until more updates are shared, this remains a mystery. Now, in this next clip, a man armed with nothing but a camera light enters what appears to be a service corridor or storage area somewhere deep inside a commercial building at night. A claustrophobic space filled with mannequins, boxes, and metal racks. The kind of place that already feels wrong before anything happens. Before the footage even begins, he leaves a note for viewers, saying he was hurt during this encounter, and that whatever is in this room is not the same entity he's dealt with before. That detail alone changes how you watch everything that follows. He moves down a long, narrow hallway, metallic sounds already banging rhythmically around him, and before he pushes open a dark storage room door, you can hear him whisper, "Please, protect me, God." That's not the kind of thing you say for the camera. Watch.
I was hurt during this encounter. This is not the same entity. It's not her.
Hello? Hello? Who's there? Hello?
Beneath the chaos, faint but unmistakable, you can hear the sound of a woman crying, soft, sorrowful, heartbreaking, and it continues through several of the crashes, as though something in that room is grieving, while another thing is tearing the place apart. A deep, guttural, distorted voice begins to speak, and then the camera is jolted violently, the audio descending into a scuffle of grunts and clattering before the footage cuts off with the lens pointing at the floor. Some viewers believe what he encountered was two separate presences, one sorrowful, the entity he described as her, and one aggressive, something far more volatile that he specifically warned wasn't the same. In demonology, that kind of split is sometimes referred to as an oppressor and a residual, one presence attached to grief, one attached to violence, occupying the same space. Others watching the footage focus on the escalating pattern of events. Skeptics argue the tight, cluttered space could explain shifting objects, but the crying voice and the distorted growl aren't things you typically explain away. Now, in this next video, a man is alone in his bedroom at night when a series of loud, heavy bangs begin echoing through the room, and the source of those sounds is something he can't immediately explain. He's just standing by his wardrobe, calm, unhurried, pulling out a shirt and getting dressed like it's any other night, even as the thumping continues around him. That calmness is either reassuring or deeply unsettling, depending on how you look at it. The banging comes in bursts, rapid at first, then slower, more deliberate, the kind of heavy thuds that feel less like a pipe rattling and more like something with weight and intention. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stops. He finishes dressing, picks up the camera, and walks toward the bed. Watch. He lifts the mattress and the fitted sheet to reveal the floor underneath, wooden slats, dark carpet, and nothing else. No one hiding, no animal, just an empty space, and a small deflated balloon sitting near the wall. That's it. And yet those bangs were loud, rhythmic, and close, the kind of sounds that vibrate through a room rather than filter in from somewhere far away. And if there's one detail that keeps pulling people back to this clip, it's that small, deflated balloon sitting alone in the head of a doll on his bed. So what exactly was making that noise? I'll let you be the judge. The following clips were captured by a man and his family at La Prisa, a public park area in what appears to be a Spanish-speaking region, on 2 separate visits to the same location, and each time, something was waiting for them. On the first night, the family had come out to the park casually, letting their daughter play on the playground set while the adults talked nearby. The kind of unremarkable evening that shouldn't leave anyone shaken. But at some point, the man filming noticed something near a lone tree by a tall street lamp out across the wide, grassy field. A small, duckish shape he couldn't quite make sense of. Watch.
No te vas a golpear la resbaladilla cuando te bajes.
¿Me bajo?
Sí.
Ah.
¡Ey, Dana! Mira. Espérate. Dana, ven. Vénganse para acá. Mira, a ver, miren el árbol aquel. No, yo, la neta, te lo juro que yo miraba algo. Como que se asomaba. A ver, vengan.
Ya me dio miedo.
No, es que yo miré algo, neta. No pasa nada. No, mi amor, no pasa nada, ven. No era nada, ven. ¿Qué?
Yo vi algo. ¿Qué es?
No sé, no, bro. No. Irga, sí se miró. ¡Hey! ¿Quién está ahí? Yo sí miré, alcancé a ver algo. Mira, ¿te checaste? ¿Viste?
¿Qué es eso?
A ver.
Oh,
mira.
¿Qué es eso? Ay, no.
¡Hey! ¡Brujo! ¡Asómate!
The man kept the camera zoomed in on that tree, trying to convince himself there was a rational explanation. What peeks out from behind that tree trunk is a pale, elongated face, hollow eye sockets, no other discernible features, staring directly toward the camera for several long seconds before the whole family erupts into screams and runs. The man shouts, "Brujo," as they flee, which in Latin American Spanish is used to refer to a witch or warlock, not a ghost, but something thought to be human in origin, a person who has crossed into dark practice and, according to certain regional folk beliefs, can take on unnatural forms or appear in places they shouldn't be. That distinction matters because a brujo isn't just a spirit lingering somewhere. It implies intent and the idea that whatever they saw chose to show itself. Skeptics argue the figure could be a person in a mask crouching behind the tree, which would explain the slow, deliberate emergence. But the face itself, pale, featureless, except for those dark hollows, doesn't quite match the shape of any mask most viewers could identify. And the genuine terror across that family, including the children, is difficult to fake at that scale. That changed everything about how they saw the park. They came back. On their second visit, the man returned with his wife and filmed from an elevated position above the park, telling the camera they'd decided not to go down this time, not after what happened before, but they still wanted to document what was there. The park appeared completely empty, no other people, just the equipment, the streetlights, and the dark. Watch.
Ay, pues se prendió. Pero miren, chequen nomás. Estamos solos, no hay nadie aquí en la presa. Aquí vinimos de nuevo para checar otra vez lo del mentado árbol que habíamos, de susodicho árbol, no, pero pues la neta, esta vez la verdad no quisimos bajar, ni quisimos, miren, aquí estamos yo y mi esposa, y pues la neta esta vez no quisimos bajar, por precaución, porque no sabemos qué es lo que puede haber ahí. Entonces mejor nos quedamos aquí, pero ahí se mira donde está solo. Mira, ahí están los juegos, donde está nada prácticamente. Ay, no mames. Mira. No me jodas. Ay, nomás chequen ustedes, miren. No, vámonos mejor. Vámonos. No, esto no está bien. Vámonos. Aquí definitivamente sí hay algo. Ay, nomás chequen, juzguen ustedes. Y mira, y nomás ese aparato es el que está. Nomás ese aparato es el que se está moviendo. No, sí está cañón. Vámonos mejor. No, vámonos ya. Bueno, nos vemos. Aquí ya mejor ya. Hay que dejarlos a gusto a los fantasmitas que estén haciendo ejercicio. Bueno, vámonos mejor. No está, vámonos. Bye.
Multiple pieces of outdoor exercise equipment are moving on their own, back and forth, in the rhythm of people mid-workout. Ellipticals, a leg press, and then one machine in particular, a standing waist twister, begins moving with much greater intensity than the others, twisting steadily while everything else slows down, as though something has decided to focus its attention on that one spot. The man's wife quietly says, "Vámonos, let's go," and he agrees almost immediately. Before leaving, he jokes darkly that they should let the little ghosts finish their exercise in peace, which is either a coping mechanism or the only framework he had left for what he was seeing. Some viewers think the equipment was wind-driven, though the machines are designed with resistance mechanisms that require sustained force to operate, which makes natural movement harder to explain. Others believe that whatever they encountered near that tree on the first night hadn't left, that it was still there, unseen, going through the motions of being alive. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. 2 visits, 2 sets of footage from the same location, and whatever it is still hasn't shown its face again, at least not yet. What do you think they actually saw? The following clips were recorded by a man driving through Lomas de Lourdes, a residential neighborhood on the outskirts of Saltillo, Coahuila, late at night, and what started as a routine drive home turned into something he clearly wasn't prepared for. He'd already heard a noise from behind his back seat when he pulled over, and that's when he noticed something in the distance that made him stop entirely. Watch.
¿Qué onda, raza? Venía aquí manejando en Lomas de Lourdes y escuché un ruido acá atrás del asiento de atrás y me paré para ver qué onda y estoy viendo cómo se ve una mujer. Iba a irme por allá, pero pura madre. Miren.
Standing still on an embankment at the far end of the road, partially swallowed by the darkness, is a pale, upright figure, small from this distance, blurry, but unmistakably humanoid in shape. He says in Spanish that he can see a woman standing out there, and that he was planning to drive toward her, but then decided against it. That hesitation is telling. Something about what he was looking at didn't sit right, and for a lot of viewers who've grown up in northern Mexico, the image of a pale woman standing alone on a dark road at night carries a very specific weight. In Mexican folklore, La Llorona, the weeping woman, is said to roam near isolated areas and roads, mourning the children she drowned in a jealous rage. The legend has roots stretching back to pre-Columbian Mesoamerican traditions, and in communities throughout northern Mexico and Coahuila. Specifically, she's not just a ghost story told to children, she's a warning. Whoever encounters her is said to be marked by misfortune. So when this man peered out his windshield and saw that pale shape standing alone in the dark, his decision not to go closer starts to make a lot more sense. But then he changed his mind. In the second clip, he describes driving toward the figure to get a better look, calling it a mona, a bruja, or something worse. Watch.
Bueno, actualizando. Chingue su madre le voy a dar por ahí a ver qué chingados es. A ver si es una mona o una bruja o algo, o estoy viendo mal. Vamos a ver qué onda, vamos a darle rápido. A la verga, si es una pinche señora. Miren, 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 miren. Oh, la verga.
The car moves up the hill, the figure still visible on top of a low concrete wall as he approaches, and then, as he passes the exact spot, it's gone. He exclaims in Spanish, clearly shaken, confirming that yes, it was a woman standing there, and then frantically panning the camera around trying to find where she went. There's no walkway, no obvious exit point visible in the footage, and the disappearance happens in the moment it takes the car to pass. That detail, the figure being there and then simply not being there, is what pushed a lot of viewers from curious to genuinely unsettled. Some think it was a real person standing on a wall who simply stepped down or moved into shadow at just the right moment. Others aren't convinced any living person would choose to stand motionless on a concrete ledge on a dark road in the middle of the night. He wasn't done though. He circled back. Watch.
Aquí vamos a pasar de nuevo. A ver si sigue ahí la llorona. Míralo, míralo.
Driving past the same concrete wall again, he says out loud that he's coming back to see if La Llorona is still there, and barely seconds later, a pale, blurry shape appears briefly behind the fence line, prompting him to shout at the camera to look. It's fleeting, lasting only a second before the car's motion carries it out of frame. 3 passes, the same stretch of road, the same pale shape, appearing, vanishing, and then appearing once more. Whether it's a person, a trick of the headlights, or something that fits the old Coahuila legend far too well to dismiss, the road in Lomas de Lourdes doesn't seem to have given him a clear answer. What do you think he was looking at? This next clip was recorded during what appears to be a memorial gathering inside a family home, a daytime service, with candles and a cross of white flower petals laid out on the tiled floor, suggesting a recent and very painful loss. The family had released a white star-shaped helium balloon near the memorial, and what happened next is the reason this footage was shared at all. Watch. The balloon drifts away from the memorial on its own, floats purposefully through a doorway into the next room, and descends directly onto the lap of a teenage boy, sitting alone on the edge of a bed, visibly heartbroken, hand pressed to his mouth, trying to hold himself together. It doesn't wander or bump along the ceiling the way a helium balloon normally would. It changes direction, lowers itself, and finds him. Many people who've watched this believe the balloon was being guided, that whoever was being mourned that day was making one final pass through their home, and chose that specific moment to reach the one person in the room who needed it most. Skeptics will point to air currents from the open doorway, and that's a reasonable argument. But if you watch the balloon's descent onto his lap, the shift in direction feels too deliberate, too targeted, to dismiss entirely. What do you think? This next clip was recorded on a baby monitor inside a toddler boy's bedroom on Christmas night of 2023 at around 6:45 in the evening. The room looks peaceful enough, a little teepee tent in the corner, a low floor bed with a wooden frame, the boy sitting quietly on a rug in the foreground, completely unaware of what's apparently happening just behind him. His parents had no idea anything was caught on the monitor until they reviewed the footage. Watch.
Someone please tell me what this scary motion in my son's room is.
A small, dark shape scurries across the floor at an alarming speed, low to the ground, passing directly behind the child from right to left. The parents insist there were no animals in the room. If you look at the zoomed replay, the motion blurs heavily, suggesting whatever this was moved far too fast for the camera's night vision frame rate to fully capture. Some viewers immediately pointed to a large rodent, but others weren't so sure. noting the movement pattern looks less like a small animal and more like something crawling deliberately. What was sharing that room with him? In this next clip, there are no people, no investigators, no one moving through the frame, just a porcelain doll seated alone in a high-backed armchair, filmed at night under a single warm yellow light, while a vintage mantel clock on the side table reads approximately 9:43. Whoever set this camera up and left it running clearly expected something to happen. The doll itself is dressed in a white and dark blue sailor outfit, and the room around it is completely still, the kind of still that feels deliberate, almost staged by something that knows it's being watched. For over a minute, nothing moves. Not the doll, not the clock, not a shadow. Watch. At around 31 seconds in, a loud, sharp crack erupts out of nowhere, high-pitched and percussive, like plastic or wood snapping under sudden pressure, or something releasing tension it had been holding for a long time. Nothing in the frame moves when it happens. The doll doesn't shift, nothing falls, and the ambient hum underneath the recording just continues on as if nothing occurred. That's what makes it so unsettling. If you listen closely, there's no build-up, no creak before it, just silence and then that sound, abrupt and clean. Some believe haunted dolls act as vessels, objects that absorb emotional energy or spirit attachment over time, and that physical sound, cracking, tapping, movement, are how that presence makes itself known. Others think the clip is simply capturing the natural expansion of materials in a quiet room, but a sound that sharp, in a room that's still, with nothing visibly causing it, that's a harder thing to reason your way out of. What do you think was in that room with the doll? The following video was recorded by a man in Virginia who'd been noticing strange things happening inside his shed. Strange enough that he set up a Ring security camera in there to try to catch something on film. The shed itself is cluttered with tools, old boxes, and years of accumulated junk. The kind of space that's easy to ignore until it starts ignoring you back. The camera is mounted high in a corner, looking down over the whole room, and on the afternoon of April 19th of 2026, at around 4:26 p.m., nobody is inside. Nobody visible, anyway. A door at the back of the room is closed. The floor is still. and then it isn't. Watch.
Man, look at this.
What unfolds over the next few minutes is one of the densest collections of unexplained activity caught on a single static camera in recent memory. A door swinging open on its own, loud thuds and heavy dragging sounds filling the room with no visible source. A ball rolling out of the open doorway and stopping dead. A wooden shelf crashing to the floor, and then, most disturbingly, being lifted back up and out of frame against gravity. And then there's the music. Old-fashioned, tinny, with a female vocalist, faint at first, then growing steadily louder, as though something is physically walking it closer to the camera's microphone, right up until a sharp pop is heard, and something lets out a high-pitched cry of pain. When the man Yeed enters the shed to investigate, you can hear how shaken he is, breathing heavy, voice cracking, yelling into the dark attic above him, and getting nothing back. What he finds up there doesn't answer anything. Broken nameplates reading Mr. and Mrs. Ronald J. with the surname snapped clean off, a shattered Rolex-style watch, shot glasses etched with the logo of Sweetbriar College, a women's-only institution here in Virginia, all of it belonging to someone else, someone whose connection to this shed he can't explain. Many viewers think what's captured here is classic poltergeist behavior, not a haunting tied to a location so much as an intelligence that interacts with physical objects, creates sound, and seems capable of responding to the presence of a camera. Poltergeist activity in paranormal research is often described as kinetic, loud, and escalating, the kind of presence that doesn't hide but performs. Others think the objects found in the attic matter more than the activity itself, that whoever Ronald J. was, something tied to him, or to whoever he shared that nameplate with, hasn't fully left the space. The shelf being lifted back up is the detail that's hardest to walk away from. Things fall, that's physics, but whatever pulled that shelf back up wasn't working with gravity, it was working against it. So what exactly is living in that shed with him, and does it know he's looking? Now, in this next clip, a group of friends decide to explore the darker parts of the building they're staying in at 4:15 in the morning. What starts as a casual, laughing walkthrough of a dark office space slowly shifts into something far more unsettling. The man filming leads his two friends through room after room, trying locked doors, peering into a cluttered storage area, and eventually unlatching a back door that opens into complete darkness outside. The mood is still light. They're joking, whispering, shining a phone flashlight into corners until they saw something terrifying. Watch.
Oh, my pitu, my pitu, my pitu, my pitu, my pagi. My pagi, my pitu, mari kita tengok, mari kita tengok. Buka lampu, Pi, buka lampu, Pi. Nak guguk, babi. Buka lampu, buka lampu. Mari sini, Pi. Macam ada orang tu. Allah, lampu pula tutup. Ya, babi tu. Bodoh. Dia tinggal aku ke bodoh? Macam babi tinggal aku. Lampu tutup pula. Ruang ketang, ruang jiluan, ruang ketang. Bodoh. Bimbang. Biar. Tak pasal pipi. Biar. Ya. Tak orang tu. Tak sini gelap dia. Allah Akbar. Bodoh. Ya Allah. Bodoh. Babi gugah, ya Allah. Allahu Akbar.
If you look closely, there's a figure, and according to the guys, it's a pokong. Near the edge of the darkness, a pale figure can briefly be seen motionless in the background. The group immediately reacts, and according to the men filming, what they saw was a pokong, a ghost from Indonesian and Malay folklore, believed to be the spirit of a dead person trapped inside their burial shroud. In traditional beliefs, the body of the deceased is wrapped tightly in white cloth before burial, with bindings around the head, neck, and feet. Legends claim that if the soul is unable to move on, the spirit may return in the same wrapped form, unable to walk normally, and often described as hopping or appearing stiff and motionless in dark places. Reports of pokong sightings are especially common near abandoned buildings, graveyards, and isolated roads late at night. Some viewers believe the figure was simply a person standing outside in the darkness. Others are convinced the reaction from the group was too immediate and genuine to be staged. But for those familiar with the legend of the pokong, the clip taps into a fear that has existed for generations. The following clip was recorded inside what appears to be a private collection room, floor-to-ceiling wooden shelves packed with hundreds of clown dolls, figurines, and ceramic pieces, a human-sized clown seated in a chair in the background, holding two smaller ones on its lap. The woman filming walks through the space calmly at first, taking it all in, until something just off-camera stops her cold. Watch.
Might do that. Are you a textual? Well, thank you. You see that? I did not.
She freezes mid-step, her expression shifting from neutral to wide-eyed shock, and she raises her palm outward like she's bracing against something invisible. Collections like this, especially ones centered around objects with human-like features, such as dolls or figurines, have long been tied to unsettling theories in paranormal folklore. Across multiple cultures, objects that resemble the human form are believed to act as vessels, not necessarily because something is placed into them intentionally, but because their likeness creates what some traditions describe as a spiritual anchor, something that makes it easier for unseen entities to attach themselves or manifest through them. Clown figures in particular tend to amplify that discomfort, not because of anything inherently supernatural about clowns themselves, but because their exaggerated expressions create a disconnect between emotion and appearance. Smiles that don't feel natural, eyes that seem fixed yet aware, making it easier for the human mind to interpret subtle changes as something more. The following video was recorded during a live stream session out of Columbiana, Alabama, in September of 2019, when 3 men were in the middle of a casual conversation about haunted artifacts, specifically about a trip one of them had taken to the Afterlife Museum in West Virginia, a place known for housing objects with dark histories. On the table in front of them sat 2 vintage baby dolls, brought out as part of the discussion. Nothing about the setup seemed alarming. The man on the right, joining remotely via video call, was mid-sentence describing what he'd seen at the museum. Death masks, haunted dolls, the kind of objects people warn you not to bring home. Watch.
Death mask. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they kept the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it. Because I thought it was my eyes.
I didn't really. It was this one right here, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Screen.
Yeah.
I didn't see. I missed it.
I
was just time to see the head kind of wobble like it was trying to turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought my eyes were playing with me.
Joe, you want to take that one home with you?
As long as it's temporary. They had death mask. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they kept the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it because I thought it was my eyes.
And we're going to build a museum on it.
That'll be cool.
It's going to be a haunted museum and a Bigfoot museum, artifacts, and for storytelling and that kind of stuff.
Right. I had recently went up to West Virginia to the what was it called? The Afterlife Museum. The archive of the Afterlife Museum. That place was really interesting. They had all kinds of dolls that were haunted, were supposedly haunted. They had death masks. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they kept the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it because I thought it was my eyes.
I didn't really. It was this one right here, wasn't it?
The head of the dolls were slowly moving. What makes this harder to dismiss is that the man on the call admits he noticed the movement 20 seconds earlier and chose to ignore it, telling himself it was his eyes playing tricks. Both men react simultaneously and independently, which is exactly the kind of detail skeptics struggle to explain away. Some believe objects that have passed through environments like the Afterlife Museum can carry residual energy, absorbing something from the people and places they've been around. Others think the doll may have been responding to the conversation itself. If you watch the replay closely, you'll notice the right doll also shifts slightly at the same moment. So what exactly set it off? The following video was recorded on a home security camera set up in a living area, looking down a dark hallway toward a closed white door. The house appears quiet, no one moving, no lights on, nothing out of the ordinary by any visible measure. And then, fairly early in the footage, something changes. Watch. Some viewers think the figure is a camera artifact, a long exposure glitch layered over the original feed. Others aren't so sure, pointing out that the object moving independently happens in the same footage, and that kind of pairing, a visual apparition followed by physical movement, is something that keeps showing up in home security cases like this one. Whether the movements in this clip were caused by vibration, an unseen draft, a camera illusion, or something else entirely remains unclear. But moments like this are exactly why ordinary security footage so often ends up at the center of paranormal debates online. Now, in this next clip, a man wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps on his basement stairs. Not once, not twice, but over and over for nearly 10 minutes straight. What makes this especially unsettling is that he thought it was over. Earlier that week, he'd visited a cemetery, and after that, every bit of activity in his home had gone completely quiet. He believed whatever had been following him had returned to where it came from. He was wrong. So he grabs his flashlight and starts moving through the dark house, narrating as he goes, clearly shaken. Watch.
Alright, so I was woken up this morning to the sound of walking up and down my basement stairs again. It was over and over and over for probably 10 minutes straight. It was just walking up and down the basement stairs. Now, this is the first any type of activity I've had in the last week. Now, I opened the cemetery up on Monday, and since then I've had absolutely no activity here at home. So I thought that whatever followed me, or whatever it was, returned to the cemetery, and that was it. But like I said, I woke up to, the back door's locked, all the windows are locked. Stairs again. I don't
While he's mid-sentence, a loud crash cuts him off. A green shaker bottle now on the kitchen floor, with no one near it. He picks it up, hands unsteady, breathing heavy, and just says, "I don't know," over and over. You can hear the defeat in his voice. Some believe this is classic poltergeist behavior, objects displaced by an unseen force as a direct response to the witness's presence. Others think whatever came back from that cemetery didn't come alone. But what do you think? The following clip was recorded by a man somewhere in Carrollsville, late at night and in the middle of a heavy rainstorm. He's parked in his Jeep outside a building near a gas station when something across the street stops him cold. According to him, whatever it was had already been there when he first noticed it. Pale and vaguely humanoid, standing in the rain near the pumps. He gets out of the car, which, honestly, most people would never do. And the moment he does, something shifts. The temperature of the whole situation changes. Watch.
Oh my God. What the f do you want? Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone, please.
That figure in white, standing across the road in the dark and the rain, doesn't move the way anything should. And then the sound starts. A high-pitched, wavering wail that doesn't match any emergency siren, any car alarm, anything you'd expect to hear outside a gas station at night. He screams at it, pleads with it, and eventually scrambles back into the Jeep just to get away. What makes this harder to dismiss is the final glance in his side mirror before he speeds off. The figure is now under the carport he just left, and it appears to be contorting. Some viewers familiar with Carroll County's long history of documented hauntings have pointed out that the region around Carrollsville has carried paranormal folklore for generations. Others focused on those sounds, that unnatural, layered wail, and suggested it's consistent with what some researchers call an intelligent haunting, where a presence doesn't just appear, but actively communicates through sound and proximity. Skeptics think the figure is a person in a raincoat, and the sounds are distorted road noise bleeding through the recording. But that doesn't explain why it followed him. Where exactly did it go? The following video was recorded in the Haunted Hobart, a hotel in Hobart, Australia, with a reputation for paranormal activity. And in October of 2021, a paranormal investigation team set up security cameras inside the building overnight, hoping to capture something they couldn't explain. What they got was 3 separate incidents, all caught on silent CCTV footage, all happening in the early morning hours when the building was completely empty. The man reviewing the footage describes himself as a skeptical person, which makes his reaction to what the cameras caught all the more worth paying attention to. The first 2 events happen at 5:53 a.m. No staff, no guests, nobody in the building. Watch.
A movement right there, and then it proceeds to go like up the stairs, but it could be someone, you know, just walking on the outside on our front porch right there, which is logically what it is, but it almost seems that the camera's kind of bending, and it bends the staircase a little bit, and then right after it goes to the top of the stairs, the hat seems to jump up before it falls off onto the ground and kind of rolls around. It's very weird. It's something I can't explain. Now, even weirder than that is the next day, that same woman came back in and she was wearing the same exact clothes, and which is fine. I'm not judging. Maybe she had some, you know, had a fun night. Maybe got it lucky. You know, she could have stayed somewhere close to here. You know, or maybe she lives there. Who knows? But she. How wacky this is. Like, what is she doing? She seems to be walking weird. And then she's like peeping back in. Like, how long was she out on the porch just like staring in after the video cuts off? It's wild. It was a bizarre thing. I don't know what's up with that lady, but more importantly, I don't know what's up with that hat. That's the most evidence I've seen of something, and I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. It was right in front of me as I'm talking to this woman. It was very weird. I can't explain it. Make up your own mind on what you think, and let me know. Thanks for watching.
From 2 separate camera angles focused on the staircase near the entrance area, a black hat resting on the stair railing suddenly falls to the floor without anyone near it. Moments before the movement, the footage appears to capture something unusual near the front entrance, a faint distortion near the doorway, and what some viewers believe looks like movement crossing near the staircase itself. What makes the clip unsettling is not just the hat falling, but the sequence leading up to it. Investigators reviewing the footage pointed out that the distortion appears seconds before the object moves, almost as if something invisible passed through the area first. But according to the team, the strangest part came the next day. The woman connected to the hat incident reportedly returned to the hotel wearing the exact same clothes she had on the previous night. Staff members later claimed her behavior immediately stood out. For several minutes, she allegedly stood staring silently at a wall without reacting to anyone around her. She then began making bizarre comments to both employees and customers, including repeatedly talking about eating dog food, before wandering through the building acting disoriented and suspicious. Paranormal researchers sometimes associate this kind of behavior with locations believed to have lingering spiritual activity, especially in places where repeated reports of apparitions, distortions, or object movement have already been documented. In many cases, investigators describe witnesses becoming unusually fixated, detached, or emotionally altered after experiencing unexplained events inside allegedly haunted environments. Whether the woman's behavior was connected to what the cameras captured remains unknown, but for many viewers, the combination of the distortion near the staircase, the unexplained movement of the hat, and the woman returning the following day behaving strangely has made this one of the more unsettling pieces of footage connected to haunted Hobart. The following clips were both captured by security cameras inside what appears to be the same home, both in the early morning hours, and both involve something that seems to be paying very close attention to a sleeping baby. In the first clip, the timestamp reads, just after 1:30 in the morning on March 25th of 2023. The footage is in grayscale night vision, filmed from a high corner angle looking down at a bedroom. A large bed sits in the center of the frame, and to its left, a baby's crib with a small form tucked inside. The room is still. The door to the left of the crib is slightly ajar. and for the first 20 seconds or so, nothing moves. Then it got worse. Watch. The bedroom door slowly begins to move on its own, opening wider before shifting back again, despite no one appearing anywhere near it. But according to the family, this wasn't the only incident. In a second clip, recorded on a separate night in April of 2019, at approximately 5:20 in the morning, another camera positioned directly above a bassinet captures something else entirely. Watch carefully. A teddy bear placed near the baby begins to move on its own. The motion is slow and deliberate, with the toy shifting position while nothing else in the frame appears disturbed. No hands enter the shot. No one approaches the crib. The room remains otherwise completely still. What unsettles many viewers is the pattern between the two recordings. In both clips, the activity centers around the child's sleeping area, almost as if whatever is present is drawn toward the crib itself. Some paranormal researchers point to old stories involving watchers, entities said to linger silently near sleeping children, often first noticed through subtle environmental changes like moving doors, shifting objects, or unexplained sounds during the early hours of the morning. Whether the two incidents are connected is impossible to know. But for many viewers, the idea that both cameras captured unexplained activity centered around the same baby is what makes the footage difficult to forget. In this next clip, a man claims he had finally decided to leave his house after days of experiencing what he described as unbearable activity inside the home. Hoping to get away from whatever had been disturbing him, he temporarily stayed somewhere else. But according to him, the activity didn't stop when he left. It followed him. Watch closely.
Algo está sonando en el cuarto. Creo que es la cama.
While filming inside the room, the man lifts the comforter slightly and points the camera toward the space beneath the bed. For a brief moment, a pair of pale, bare feet can be seen. Skeptics argue that someone could simply have been hiding underneath, a child, a friend, or someone playing a prank. But according to the man filming, when he looked again moments later, there was no one there. What unsettled many viewers even more was the folklore some people connected to the footage afterward. In parts of Latin American paranormal tradition, there are stories of childlike entities said to appear inside homes, often partially hidden beneath beds, in corners, or just outside direct view. Some compared the figure to legends surrounding La Niña de las Sombras, translated loosely as the Shadow Girl, a spirit described in online folklore as appearing silently inside domestic spaces before gradually becoming more aggressive over time. Others connected it to stories associated with La Llorona, where sightings involving children or crying voices are believed to signal a lingering supernatural presence inside the home. But according to the man, the encounter didn't end there. After several more days of disturbances, he decided to place a Bible near the exact spot where he claimed he first saw the feet. Then, during the early hours of the morning, he says he heard a voice telling him to look underneath it, so he started recording again. The same pale feet and lower legs appear beneath the object once more, but this time, the footage captures something else alongside it, a whisper repeating a single word in Spanish, ayuda, which means help. What makes the clip especially disturbing to some viewers is the implication behind the voice. In many paranormal traditions, entities that imitate children are often described as deceptive, using cries for help or weak voices to draw attention and lower fear before escalating activity further. We can only hope that's not the case here. The following clips were recorded inside what appears to be an abandoned commercial space, a former retail unit with unfinished walls, exposed ductwork, and the kind of industrial silence that makes every small sound feel wrong. The man filming had been exploring the location and decided to leave a static camera running in one of the darker rooms, stepping back to let it record on its own. For a stretch, nothing happens, just a faint ambient hum and the stillness of an empty space. Then it got worse. Watch. What you just heard wasn't a single knock or a creak. It was a violent, rapid barrage of metallic crashes and bangs, like heavy metal racks or poles being hurled against a wall in quick succession, all with no visible source anywhere in the frame. The room was empty. No one was there. When he goes back in with a flashlight to investigate, he finds the ceiling torn open near an access hatch, damaged in a way that raises more questions than it answers. Some believe what was captured is consistent with poltergeist-type activity, a term used to describe disturbances characterized not by visual apparitions, but by aggressive, physical, or auditory force, sounds and movement without an obvious agent. The second clip picks up in a similarly dark, confined space, this time a cluttered crawl space or attic area, accessed through a panel in a low ceiling. Watch. If you look closely, something like a human hand is still for a moment before suddenly moving. The reaction from viewers was immediate. Some believe there may have been a person trapped somewhere inside the space. Others think the movement looked unnatural, especially given how motionless the hand remained beforehand. What makes the clip disturbing is the uncertainty. The camera never stays long enough to reveal what the hand is attached to, or whether something was actually hiding deeper inside the crawl space the entire time. Now, in this next clip, a man with no named introduction documents something he found on the wall of his house. A faint, smudgy impression sitting high up on a plain tan wall, shaped unmistakably like a small hand. Watch.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can try and get...
Okay, come over this way.
Okay, because it's like you can't see it, and then suddenly it's there. And there's no way ooh, there's an ant walking across the street. But there is no way anybody could physically get there.
Well, considering you look, and there's the stairs. This thing is 6 feet above the stairway.
Somebody would have to be, and there's a wall here.
Zoom in on me. I mean, look at this. Okay, I'm standing on the stairs, for Christ's sakes.
And there's a hand.
You got 8-10 feet.
And you can only see it at certain angles. But there is no way anybody could have gotten that handprint there. It's physically impossible. And it wasn't there a couple days ago.
No, that is screwy. We gotta put that out and ask people about it. I mean, that's just, you can't do that.
I mean, I'm gonna...
And that is the left hand.
Yeah.
That's the left hand. So we're talking
somebody would have
on
had
the stairs. You're looking at
that. Okay, there's no way.
You're like 15-20 feet in the
Yeah, there is no way somebody... Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still sitting there. I can see it clear as day.
Okay. I'm gonna see if I can zoom in a little bit.
You're talking 15-20 feet in the air for somebody to put a handprint there.
And we had the place painted recently, but it is not, it was not there. I know it was not there.
So Cricket was sensing something today.
Well, it was weird because she kept freaking out all day.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this thing appears. Wait, come back. 'Cause I want to show. Okay, there's you trying to reach up to where it is. So even if you stood on the stairs, can you move up a little bit? So even if you stood on the stairs, because there's the handprint, you can't reach it. And you're over 6 feet. There's no way. Okay. And Amethyst has been acting really weird today too.
Well, I'm coming down to deal with her.
Okay.
That handprint sits too high for a child to reach casually, and the shape, a distinct palm with finger smudges fanning outward, isn't the kind of thing that just appears on a painted wall without explanation. Some believe impressions like this are residual contact, a spirit pressing through from the other side and leaving a physical trace behind. Others think it could point to a child's presence, which paranormal investigators often describe as among the most emotionally charged and difficult to dismiss. You can see why he kept coming back to it. Whatever left that mark apparently had somewhere to be, right at the top of those stairs.